You're now live.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing?
Good morning.
I'm zooming in from the hot state of Florida, so good to see you all this morning. If we can, maybe we can start off with a quick roll call. So if we can all each go around and introduce ourselves with our name, whether you're a city or county appointee, and whether you're a voting member. So I will start. My name is Maui Vang. I am the new MCCF chair, and I'm a county appointee and a voting member. And then let's see, I'll just go around my screen here. Tim, you are the first one on the upper left.
Good morning, Tim Love, Buncombe County staffer, voting member, Mountain Community Capital Fund.
Thank you. Kelly, you are next. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm Kelly Foster. Not a member. I'm here from Mountain BizWorks.
Thank you. Dee, you are next.
Hi, and good morning, everybody. My name is Dorothea Williams. I'm the president of D. Williams and Company, Inc., and also the CEO of Eagles Wings Community Development Corporation and a voting member. I'm appointed by the city of Asheville. Thank you.
Thank you. Frank, you are next.
Good morning, Frank McGowan. I'm with the City of Asheville, and I am a voting member.
Thank you. Let's see, Rachel.
Morning, everyone. Rachel Nygaard here, Buncombe County staff and voting member of this group, and your secretary. So when you see me looking like this, most of the meeting I'm typing away on my other screen. Good to see you.
Thank you, Rachel. You are an excellent secretary. Thank you. Let's see. Ran out on my screen here. Carl?
Morning, I'm Carl Alguire. I am the City of Asheville appointee and I'm a voting member.
Thank you. I see, let's see, I see a Christina Harris.
Hi, good morning. This is Christina Harris. I'm with the City of Asheville and I'm a non-voting member.
Thank you. Tara Brown.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tara Brown. I'm the Director of Community Engagement with Self-Help, and I am not a voting member.
Thank you. There's a dial-in from a phone number, an 855 phone number.
So that is our public input number. So that is how everyone is able to call in and actually hear the meeting.
Oh, got it. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you. Perfect. Well, that is the whole list that I see. I know I was emailing with Yasleen from Mountain BizWorks, and she indicated that there may be a couple of loan requests this morning, so she may join us in a little bit here, but as of now, I think we've got through everyone. Did I miss anyone? No? Okay, perfect. And I didn't keep count, but Rachel, does it look to you like we have enough voting members present?
I see 7 members present in terms of voting. I don't remember what the quorum requirement is, but I can try to look that up and let you know if I see an issue.
Okay, 7 sounds like a pretty solid number. So we will proceed. Thank you. All right. So over to our agenda. I don't know if it's helpful to share the screen to show the agenda page, or should we just kind of talk through them? I think we sent it ahead of time as well.
I saw Frank nodding his head.
Well, thank you for voting for that, Frank. So we will share. Let's see. Oh, And I believe Yasleen has joined us. Hi, Yasleen.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late.
No worries. Do you mind just introducing yourself real quick and letting us know whether you're a voting member or not?
Sure thing. Yoselin Gonzalez. I am with Mountain BizWorks as a small business lender, and I'm a non-voting member.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so figure out how to share on. Okay. Can we see this tab here? Perfect. So real quick, we will just take a quick look at the July minutes, see if there are any changes that need to be made, and then if not, we can motion to approve the minutes from July. Has everyone gotten a chance to take a look at it? Any changes? Any issues there?
I thought it looked good and I moved to accept the minutes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
A second.
Perfect. Oops, excuse me. So motion approved to approve the July minutes. And I believe we have someone else who just joined us as well. Let's see, I think Nikki.
Good morning. Yes, everyone. My name is Nikki Reed, and I'm a voting member with the City of Asheville. Sorry for being a few minutes late. Good to see everyone.
You too. Thank you. Perfect. So we will jump into the old business section of our agenda. Just going to cover some of these a little bit quickly since we do have some loan requests on the books for today. So,
Hey, Maui, this is Tim. Before we jump to the agenda, I think we need to take the vote.
oh, that's right. We did not do a vote. Thank you, Tim. Well, let's take a quick vote to approve the minutes from July. So everyone who is in agreement, raise your digital hand or say aye.
Aye.
Awesome. So it looks like the motion passes. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everyone. Rachel, you're good. Okay, so.
I was nervous. I wasn't sure they were going to pass.
Oh no. You never know with these minutes that Rachel does such a great job of taking for us.
Maui, Miss Williams has her hand up. Oh, did you have a question, Miss Williams?
Maui, one other item. You did the motion for those that support, but we should probably do one. We should also do the vote for those, any that might be opposed. So.
Oh, for the July minutes. Okay. All right. Anyone opposed to the approval of the July minutes, please raise your hand or say aye. I don't see anyone there, so we will assume that the motion passes. Yeah. All righty. Thank you. So moving on. By the way, can you guys hear when I have a little Google pop-up? Don't know how to turn off that pop-up, but can you hear it when it comes? Is it distracting?
All good.
I can hear it, but it's not distracting.
Okay, it's saying that I'm sharing and that's why it keeps popping up, but we'll just ignore it. Okay, so back to our agenda. So I kind of alluded to this earlier, but as you all may know, Jeff Kaplan, our previous MCCF chair, has stepped down, and Jeff has done such a great job to just really solidify this most recent phase of this MCCF to be a great advocate and helped us raise a good amount of funds for this new phase. As you know, we have quite a few dollars that have come our way through all the different various grant funding. So super exciting, but Jeff has decided to step down and during this time. And so in the last meeting, we voted, did a nomination and election, and I was voted as the new MCCF chair. So I'm super thrilled to work alongside all of you to really carry out the mission of MCCF. And like I mentioned, this is going to be a really exciting phase for this group and for our region. So I look forward to collaborating with each and every one of you. And if ever there are any issues or questions or suggestions, as you already saw from this morning, I am well open to input and feedback, learning as we go and grow here. So, just really looking forward to working together. I will take a minute here to see if anybody has any comments from last time. I know a couple of you may be missing from last time. I think some of you may not have been present. So just wanted to open up a little bit of time here for any comments.
Nope. We're excited to have you in the role. Thank you for being willing to step up.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Definitely. Thanks for taking on a leadership role.
Yep. And as you saw again this morning, I will be leaning on you guys as well to help with this great mission that we have here. Perfect. So let us move on in the old business section of the agenda. Last time in the July meeting, we had some proposed edits from self-help with our governing documents, and we had some work groups sessions too, I believe, in the month of July to further the review of those documents. Karen was heading that up, but I'm not sure that I see her on the call today. So I wonder if there's any other representatives from self-help who may want to stand in for Karen. If not, it probably might be best to move that to our next meeting.
Thank you, Maui. I'm here, but I know that they haven't. This is Tara from Self Help. I'm here, but I know that they haven't gotten a chance to go through all of those proposed changes. So I think moving to next month would make the most sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you, Tara. I know at least in the session that I sat in, there weren't any like super major changes proposed, but there were like a few. There were just a bunch of little ones sort of strewn throughout the document. So I think that might make sense to wait for Karen to be back and kind of lead us in the review of those edits.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any comments or thoughts on that before we move on?
This is Rachel. Thank you. Last month, I had also noted, in addition to Karen working on those edits, that there were some discussions with city county legal through Tim and Nikki. Is that underway, or does that wait until after the September meeting?
Great question, Rachel. Tim, I don't know if you've followed up with your legal folks. Curious to hear your thoughts. Yeah.
I think unless y'all see it otherwise, I'd like to wait until we have something from self-help, something more concrete that we can take to our legal. That way it's more definitive.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So perhaps, yeah, that's a good process. Would that mean that then, after kind of this group reviews it next month and we feel like it's would really work for the improved function of the committee, then at that point, perhaps we would take it to legal. Does that sound right? Or do we need to do that interim step before next month?
I think this group should weigh in and hear kind of what the working group is kind of identified and then move from there.
Okay. Sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Yep, this sounds like a good approach to me. The session that I was a part of, again, there seemed like there were a few items that we would have appreciated input from the larger group. So instead of moving straight to legal, that makes sense that we run it by the group next month. So do we need to pass a motion to change that part of the agenda? Or Rachel, are you good on just taking notes on that?
Yep, I just made a note of those steps of the process and that our decision to carry the item forward to the next meeting. So when you're building that next agenda, you can look at the section for next month reminders, and I'll have all the next steps there.
Perfect. Thank you. So, oh, there we go again. Pop up. So back to our agenda. Just wanted to leave a little placeholder in here for any updates on the status of our contracts with these various organizations: Buncombe County ARPA, City of Asheville ARPA, Dogwood Health Trust. So if anybody has any updates on those items, feel free to speak up and share with the group.
Hi, this is Frank. I was actually chatting with Kim Mormon-Sachs at the City of Asheville early this morning, and they're working, or she is working through the contracts in groups of 5. Right now, the agreement for MCCF is slated for September. Things appear to be on track, so she thinks that it will be executed probably by the end of September.
Got it. So we probably won't have a solid update on that until probably our October meeting then, on the approval of that contract.
That seems correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other updates?
The other 2 agreements listed there are fully complete, the Buncombe and the Dogwood.
Okay, so we can probably roll that off for our next agenda. Can you make a quick note of that? Thank you. Okay. So the next item on our agenda, last time Yasmin brought a risk manager from Mount Bisworks to discuss the quarterly report, and I think we had some remaining questions that we may want to address this morning, but Yasmin, I believe I don't see your colleague here, so let's know if we need to move on.
She's here. She's with us.
I'm here.
Oh, Kelly is. Okay. That's right. So, yes. Kelly, I think we had just some general questions from the quarterly report, and I don't have those notes immediately in front of me, but I can open up the floor to any other questions that someone might have, and I think I do have one follow-up thought as well to add in there, but yeah. And if you have any comments right off the bat.
Sorry, Molly. It was just more of an update on the existing, on the one, I'm sorry, 2 loans to one applicant or one client that we had, just to kind of give you guys a general update of where we are in the process of that collection.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So Kelly, the floor is yours.
Sure. So like Yaslin said, there's 2 loans that have defaulted, but the loan is to the same borrower. So we're dealing with the same business for both of these loans. I have to be careful not to tell the business name. When they defaulted, Mountain Bizworks, the first thing we do is we deploy coaches to try to do technical assistance to find out, what has happened, why the business owner cannot repay the debt. We have done that multiple times with multiple coaches and multiple staff members, and we've not, while the business owner was welcoming that and did meet with us when we went on location to the brick and mortar site. They've been non-responsive. And then from there, they stopped paying the account. After they stopped paying the account, we tried various, first stage collection practices, which is, phone calls, site visits, letters, no responses. We did get repeated promises to pay. They never followed through to pay with those. So right now the two accounts, one of them is past due for May 1st payment, and then the other one was a first payment default, which was due for January 1st of this year. So after we went through the first stages of trying to give the technical assistance, collections, and working with the client, they became non-responsive. So I did contract with the local attorney to have an official demand letter sent. We had no response from the demand letter. Part of the demand letter was to, ask for cooperation to provide the collateral for us to liquidate. Again, no response. From there, we contracted with a local repo agent that's licensed and bonded, and that repo agent has went by the brick and mortar location several times, and the business is never open during the posted hours of being open. We have noticed that that's been on Google reviews, one of the complaints for the business. Through that process, we did learn that we think the business owner has opened up a second location under a different LLC. I'm working to confirm that because it looks like when they filed it with the Secretary of State, his name is not on it. But we do think that he's opened up that separate location. So the question is, where does that leave us now as far as collections? We can keep going and try to get a judgment, which when I've talked with our executive director, Matt, I think that's what we want to do, is just to protect us and all interested parties, to where we'll have a judgment to where we could collect that down in the future. I do not think we're going to be able to get any of the collateral to be able to liquidate, which brings up a question. I know the program guidelines is we have to get the collateral to liquidate, to apply that to the account, and then file the claim from there. And again, I just don't think that we're going to be able to do that. So the question comes up, there has to be a point of how much expenses do we want to incur, on trying to keep going after the collateral. I think as far as the collateral itself, if we did get it, I'm not totally convinced we have a large recovery with it that would really offset the balance that much. The collateral is nothing that would be like a license or a title vehicle or something. With the title would be items that are covered through the UCC that do not have serial numbers. So it could be that the business owner could take the collateral and hide it or put it in a different location, which would bring up a problem of, can we show that we have right to that as far as lien on it if there's no serial number? So that's pretty much the update. This is one of those, it's like we've tried everything that we can. It makes me really sad that he's not responsive. So I wish we could work with him, but that's just not the case in this one. So are there any questions that I can answer about the process or anything? Sure. You have a question, Ms. Williams?
A couple of questions here. Yeah, let's start with Dee. Go ahead, Dee.
All right. Thank you for that. I'm sorry I was muted. A couple of questions. How much was the aggregate of both of those loans? Was it $50,000 for both?
No, one, the outstanding balance on one is $50,255, and the other one is $15,530.
Okay.
So,
And another question, Kelly, were you involved in this actuarial or risk assessment prior to the loan? Because a couple of us, including me, had questions about the viability of it. I hate to say it, but experience is that when I refi a loan, unless somebody can pay me off, I'm not inclined to refi unless you got one hell of a contract that's going to show revenue generation to service. So was the risk assessment process utilized up front with this particular customer, or do you have risk rules from an actuarial standpoint that would prevent such a thing, especially from a refinance? Because that's a trigger for somebody like me, or it will be hopefully if we get the new document set up. So I'm just wondering, was this done proactively, or are you just called in after the fact of such a loan as this?
Actually, both. I'm not on the front end as far as in depth with the underwriting, but we're a relatively small organization. I was brought in. I did have conversations with the lender and both Christopher and Matt, and I realized that is a concern. That was a concern of mine in the beginning. So if we approach something like this, and we look at the existing loan, even if they're having payment difficulties, we try to look at it as what are the obstacles that are there with the client, and what is causing those problems, and if additional funding is going to solve the issue, and if we have coaches that work with that client and they're presenting a business plan and financials that it seems that they would be able to hit those goals and make their business a success. We look at the risk of that in most cases are worth taking. I understand totally where you're coming from, and I think what you have to do is approach it of, is that business at a point to where if you provide them additional funding, is there no way that they're going to succeed at that point? If that's the case, then you obviously it'd be too risky. You wouldn't move forward with it. This is one, there was a lot of conversations up front. We had a lot of coaches involved with it. And it was apparent that we did feel at that point in time that providing the additional funding would position him for success. And so that's, as far as the risk level, we felt like, the chances of his success was worth taking the risk at that point in time. Of course, hindsight is always different. You can look back, but that's how we approached it.
Okay, because several of us, including me, did raise some concerns about it. I think our outgoing chairman did. So it was kind of like, it wasn't just after the fact, but from now on, I think we'll have some triggers that relate to the refinance of an existing loan from one portfolio to another. And I just bring that up. The only thing that I really hate, and it's not even about the money, it's the failure of that business,
Right.
I really do hate to even lose one. So I have some suggestions, but I'll hold those to try to retrieve and rescue that we've used before. So thank you for your time and the information. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dee, for your comments and input there. And definitely, I appreciate your insight and welcome your input as we edit and update our documents to incorporate that important piece of refinance triggers. Let's move on to Carl. He also has his hand raised.
Yes, thank you. This is my first experience with a note going south. So as far as Mountain Community Capital Fund goes, what is the process now for us as the group? So Mountain BizWorks is indicating that a loan that we helped guarantee is going south. So what do we do? How do we move forward? What's the process?
Do you want me? Go ahead. I didn't know if you want me to answer that one. I have the paperwork, but someone may be more well versed to actually answer that question. I can tell you what I think we need to do from our end, but from your end.
I'd definitely want to hear from you, Kelly, but just to chime in real quick before that. So Carl, and for everyone, members of the public, this is the first time we're facing this as a committee. There is some structure that's built into our agreements to claim an eligible loss, and there's some paperwork associated with that. So we can talk through that, and I'm assuming that's Kelly, where Kelly's going to come in. But I think this committee today should, think about, what additional information, if any, do we need? Do we feel like we need to hear additional voices related to this? Dee, you were setting us on a path to how do we look forward now? And I think that's something really important in this moment. So all of those things I think are on the table. So Carl, Maui, Yasleen, everybody, when you have questions, just chime in. But Kelly, I'll turn it back to you because you had some items you were going to speak to.
Yeah, not really a lot. I run the 7A program here, which if you're not familiar with that, that's one of our larger loan programs where we get the guarantee backed by the SBA. So I've been the point person to submit those claims to the SBA. If you've had any experience with them, they're very detailed. I would approach this one, and I have approached this in exactly the same way because I feel like it warrants that responsibility on behalf of Mountain Biz Works. So I would approach it the same. Most likely, I would have a lot more information that, what I've seen in the guidelines there. A nutshell, you just start from the beginning of when they first default, what happened, what did Mountain Biz Works do to try to, remedy the situation? Did we support that client? Were they responsive? And then you just go on down the line, evaluate the collateral, if you can repossess the collateral. And then from there, moving forward, is there any reason to believe that we can get, collateral in the future or any kind of recovery? So you would, at the end of it, deem if it's a total loss or, if there's possible to be able to have any recovery. The one thing I will say that I've noticed, the question that I would have, in this case, from what I understand, the guidelines state that we must liquidate all collateral prior to filing a claim, which I don't have a problem with. But what I want to pose the question out, I think a lot of these are written with our Catalyst program, which is, there to try to support the business. And I think there's even measures in place that if the business owner has put forth every effort possible and their business still fails, that we still support that business to try to, if they want to go into another business or something there. So that brings up the question is, if we do in the future have a business that has defaulted, they've been totally cooperative, they've tried everything they can possibly do, and they can't make it work for whatever reason, do we really want to require that we go out there and retake their collateral and liquidate that? Granted, that would get us recovery on the loan, but if we're trying to help that business owner's success and it's out of the Catalyst program, are they going to need that collateral if they were able to move forward in the future? So I only want to toss that out there because I know a lot of these loans run in conjunction with the Catalyst program. I mean, I don't need an answer today, but I just wanted to kind of toss that out there as something to think about.
Those are all really valid questions, Kelly. Thank you for posing them. And I see that Dee has raised her hand too, so feel free to respond.
Yes. I apologize for following up, but the Catalyst program, most of us I didn't know what it was. I think the record has me asking what that was the first time it was brought up. The guidelines that we honor and that we agreed to uphold are contained in our operating agreement.
Okay.
And have been approved by the bodies, the elected bodies who appointed us. Okay. And when we came on board, those are the guiding principles that align with the charge that we've been given. Okay. And one of those charges and those operating documents align with protecting the public interest and providing oversight. I think if you've got a program, an internal program at Mountain Biz Cap, that is fine, but it is not to be conflated with the MCCF fund, not unless this body and the governments who appointed us waived that and then changed the documents to reflect. And certainly if that would be their will, since they are directly elected, that would be my only thing, is that the conflation of the Catalyst program with MCCF operating principles is something I don't believe we have the capacity to change or to modify to. I think basically, like I've said, that would be up to council and Buncombe County government, because after all, these assets that we guard along with others belong to the taxpaying public, and we surely are all accountable to them. That would be my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. I did want to ask, I see Carl raise his hand, so before we go to Carl real quick, Kelly, like in general, I know the Catalyst Fund or the Catalyst program is fairly new as well. So these are all kind of, we're still learning as we go, sort of the trends here. But have you seen trends of possible, like the business owners, we all know the failure rates on businesses. So that's, we're not talking about that, but like, how do they return to Catalyst to want to start another business, and what that kind of movement rate, attrition rate there might be?
Yeah, we've not had it yet. We've not had any default at this point. So far the program has been, very successful. We've had some that have hit a couple of bumps on the way, but we've, provided coaching and worked with them, and so far they're holding their own. They're doing pretty well. So, I mean, on appearance and trends, it looks like the delinquency is going to be very low with it. So, and to be honest with you, I think it would be a one-off situation. To be honest with you, is what I'm hoping.
And I do want to add, I think the purpose of MCCF is to really bridge that gap in collateral. And so in a lot of cases, there is not a lot of collateral to collect here if we were to go into a default situation. So in a lot of cases, there's not going to be really much collateral to go after. Like Kelly said, in this particular case, the collateral is very minimal here. So the attempt has been made to collect it. However, and of course, we'll be able to show that the attempt has been made, but there may be that we might not even be able to collect it. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think with that, to tag along with her, my point was it comes to the cost involved. If we're having to be good stewards of this fund, if we're going to spend $3,000 to try to collect collateral that we're only going to recoup maybe a very small amount on, we have to weigh that. And so I do think it would be helpful if we had something in there to where we could present to everyone here is the type of collateral, here's the estimated cost that it's going to look for us to be able to go get that, and then decisions could be made from there, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's go to Carl. He's been waiting for you, so your turn to speak up, Carl.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if we have a great entrepreneur that we would support post a previous failure, I think that's fine, as long as, to Dee's point, it falls within the purview of, our charter. But my question that I asked before is, what is the process? So you guys sort of get to the end. It's not worth spending, throwing good money after bad, and you determine that this is in fact a defaulted loan. Do we get a demand letter? Is that, do we write a check? How do we execute and close this default loan on our books? Does anybody know?
So I think right now we have a claim form, and that would, my understanding is we would, the lender would submit that to the committee, we would review, and kind of along with supporting documents. I'm not sure what that looks like yet. Like Tim said, this is the first time we're kind of facing this. So I think we're going to try to figure it out as we go. But yes, there is a claim form. And Maui, I'm not sure if you have that, but I can share it. Or I'm sure Tim has it, and Rachel as well. But we would essentially complete that form and then present it to the committee. There will be, of course, there's sensitive information that we can't disclose. So we have to kind of be careful with that. But yeah, we can definitely share that with the committee. So for review.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just curious, how do we move on from it? There's got to be some closing action on our side.
Because this is the one from January, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And
it's not been charged off yet. So that's why no claim form has been submitted yet.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering. Rachel, I believe you have your hand up.
I do, thanks, and I appreciate Carl's process questions. I just wanted to remind us of a couple of things. One is that we won't be receiving a claim for 100% of those loan balances that Kelly shared earlier, which total roughly 65,000. It's actually a percent of that can be claimed, and so we'll, I guess, see that claim coming to us in the following months, and I'll make a note to carry this forward to our next agenda to hear the status update on it. But the other thing on my mind here is the juxtaposition of testing this claim process for the first time while we're actually updating our documents. So I would love to hear from Yasleen and Kelly if going through that claim process, you identify any kind of pain points that we could consider updating as we do our document updates. These documents, the services and duties agreement particularly, but also the operating committee document, don't get updated very often. So this is a chance as we test our theoretical claim process for the first time to hear updates from you if what we thought would work well, in fact, turns out to be so in practice.
The only thing that I see so far, I mean, it goes back down to the collateral, is I think there needs to be some kind of clarity on at what point do we determine that we spent enough. You know, I think obviously you need to hold Mountain BizWorks accountable to where we need to provide everyone really clear, detailed notes of here are the actions, the times that we've tried to get it, we went through attorney or whatever. But I do think there needs to be some kind of ground rules of when you get to a certain percentage or a certain point that the cost to try to, you know, recover something, it's not going to be worth keep spending, because the way I understand the rules are written is that we have to liquidate it before we can actually file the claim, and that's why we've not filed the claim, is we're doing everything we can to try to liquidate it.
Thank you, Kelly. I see Tim's hand up, and then I just wanted to do a quick time check too, that since we have a couple of loan requests on the books, we probably want to move on to our next items soon. But I'll let Tim, you chime in. You can be our last comment on this topic.
I appreciate it. And I saw Dee posted something in the chat that we can maybe talk about later. But to Kelly's point, like I think the committee needs to see kind of like that cost benefit analysis. And hopefully that's in the claim form, and then, you know, we can figure out the way to go from there. Dee's general point is accurate though. If the agreement approved by 2 elected bodies provides explicit guidelines, we need to stay within those. That said, I think this is also an opportunity, and this has nothing to do with my faith in Mountain BizWorks, but we have two other CDFIs on this committee, Self-Help, Carolina Small Business, and would love to have them involved and kind of like more directly involved in this review process, just to get their thoughts. Not because we don't trust BizWorks, but, you know, they're in the work. They probably have similar defaults that they go through. And I think for us, it'd be good to hear, you know, their view. You know, how might they handle this situation? You know, would they have already thrown in the towel more or less on this particular loan? Like, I think that would be really informative for me, at least. So would request from Tara and the Carolina Small Business folks if we could get kind of some review either in between our next meeting or at the next meeting. I want to hear some expertise on the loan side.
And Tim, when you say review, do you mean not the claim form itself? You're talking about just kind of the general, the scenario that Kelly just presented to us.
That's right. And I'm not, again, this doesn't come from a place of questioning, and it's not an audit. I just want to know how other people in the industry would handle a similar situation, or are there other questions that we should be asking? That type of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I I think maybe if Rachel, we can put it in our notes to revisit that idea next meeting since we are running short on time. You know,
That sounds good. I'll put it down for September if Mountain BizWorks is ready. And then, you know, Tara and others representing those other, there you go. Preparing to have the right people at the table during the meeting when it's discussed.
Yeah. And I personally, I do like the sort of crowdsourced like input sort of approach as well, but I do sort of sense that there are nuances with the different CDFIs and especially, you know, with the Catalyst program. So I definitely want to be, you know, sensitive that it's not like this cookie cutter, you know, underwriting sort of approach and scenario there. So there's some nuances to balance through there. And I do think though, overarching that because this is our first potential charge off and, you know, this is the first time having to pay out from the fund, you know, it's a good time for us all to kind of dial in and really pay attention because we don't want to just focus on what works and the successes, you know, for the longevity and sustainability of our program. We want to really dial in on what doesn't work and where the hiccups are. And so I think this next, you know, meeting or two, when we get to closing of that process, like Carl mentioned, I think would be really helpful for all of us to kind of really dial in and just, you know, pay attention and see if there are any small tweaks that we can make going forward, any learnings from this process. So with that, let's move along to our next agenda items. I believe we are done with old business. So let's move along to new loans from participating lenders.
So I actually only have one today.
Okay.
And I can go ahead and share my screen.
Let me see. Do I need to stop presenting? Okay, perfect.
Okay. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay. All right. So this loan request is for $70,000. Of course, we'd only be seeking 85% of that, which is a guarantee. And it is a sustainable lifestyle store. This is a white female LMI. Business is existing, has start date was of 2018. You can see the profits there for the last 3 years. They are located in the city of Asheville. The purpose of the loan is for inventory, advertising, and then working capital as well. We will have a UCC, which is a blanket lien on all business assets. It will be 78 months of P&I payments with 6 months of interest only. There are no bankruptcies, any judgments, or any credit issues. Credit scores are around 670. And due to the lower net income, they do not qualify for a traditional loan, bank loan. And let's see, job retention, they will be retaining 2 full-time jobs, 1 part-time. We've provided 5+ hours of technical assistance and financial projections. And of course, we'll be following up with them with the client and have completed field visits as well. The lender has. They've worked with Mountain BizWorks a long time. They've been involved with our learning services for a long time as well, have taken classes as well. Yeah, I'll open it up for questions. Go ahead, Dee.
Thank you. I apologize. I was muted. How much? This is primarily a working capital loan, Yaslin, is that correct?
It's inventory and advertising, working capital.
Okay, what's the inventory turn and what's the approximate value of that inventory and the net on it? What is the net? I mean, as far as purchasing inventory, what is the gross? What's the gross dollar amount on that purchase inventory? I can't see it. I do apologize.
I mean, I don't. I don't know. I don't know the specifics of it. I'm not the original lender on it.
Oh, okay. The reason why I'm asking is I'm trying to figure out, okay, how much of this 70,000 is involved in inventory, working cap, hard assets. It's not a lot of money. And
There's
they've
not
been
a lot of hard assets here. I mean, the inventory would be, it's going to be constantly turned. So there's really no hard assets.
That's what I just said. So there's no capital assets purchased with it, is
No.
what I'm asking.
No.
Okay, so it's working capital. It looks like
Right.
working cap.
Yes.
How many employees are these, 2 full-time and 1 part-time?
Right.
What were the net profits do you have a trend analysis on the net profits on this business the last 3 years, or how old is this business?
It's since started in 2018. So in 2018, they did 121,000. I'm sorry, 2019, 121. In year 2, due to COVID, they were in a negative position, 7,000. And then in 2021, they netted 9,000.
Okay, what is this, an LLC or is it a C Corp or sole proprietorship?
I believe it's a sole prop.
Okay, from the 1040, the net losses carried forward, was it a net profit on the 1040 that was reflected as far as the tax return to you?
That's where it's coming from, yeah.
Okay, so that was a net profit to the owner's income on the Schedule C, I suspect.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and will there be a 6-month delay in them paying anything, even principal?
They have 6 months of interest only payments.
And you're going to collect the first payment when, if it's approved, when's the first payment?
Within 30 days.
30 days?
Yes.
What's the APR? What's the APR on this one?
I believe it's 8.5.
Okay, and how many months is this one? 60?
78.
Oh, that's a long time for it to be a working capital. A working cap. I know y'all have standards and stuff, but for me, it's a little excessive for working cap. I'm used to 60 months, and I know it doesn't make a difference at this point, but I would certainly let the committee, from an operating standpoint and trigger points, take a look at that. Since there are no hard assets that we can put a lien on, it sort of bothers me that it's all working cap, but I'm fine with it. I just wanted to ask those. Thanks so much.
Well, this is an SBA loan, so we can term it out to 78 months. Yes, Maui.
Yes. So thank you, Dee, for your questions there. And I had a question that is sort of related to that. In the purpose of loan, it's inventory, advertising, working capital, and then down in technical assistance. I know you mentioned that they've taken some classes in Mountain BizWorks. I think my area of intrigue there is the advertising section, because as far as the little bit I know, the marketing advertising world is kind of nebulous, and it's especially in this day and age when there's a lot of social media ads, it's basically, it could just kind of become like a money pit. You can just kind of throw money at it to get Facebook clicks and views and all that, but not it really takes a kind of strong technician to really convert those leads into actual sales. And so my overall question is there training or focus from Mountain BizWorks part to sort of help really get the ROI on those advertisement dollars, to the best of your ability? Or is that something that the founder is already pretty well versed in, because it's a very competitive game out there with advertising right now?
Yeah, great question. So they are actually paired with a marketing coach to kind of help them plan and put those dollars to good use. And those dollars will not be released until there's a plan in place. And I believe they're also working with an agency to figure out a plan as, to make sure that those dollars are being put to good use and get a good return on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, Carl. I think you're muted.
Procedural question again, I'm sorry. So this is an SBA loan. So
Mhm.
this is not coming straight from the funds of Mountain BizWorks. So how does that work with us? So are we third in line? So there's the bank loan, then there's Mountain BizWorks, and then our guarantee a portion of the Mountain BizWorks portion, or how does this break down from a risk standpoint for MCCF?
Not sure. Kelly, could you? step in?
Yes, it doesn't affect you. You would still have first lien position. The funding source is just the SBA. That's where we get the funding source. So,
Mhm.
yeah, so it would still be first blanket UCC. It wouldn't affect the lien position.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly and or Yasleen, can you describe UCC? Explain
Sure.
it.
Yeah, it's a universal commercial code. We do that on every loan that we have. At a very minimum, we do a blanket UCC, meaning we file that with the Secretary of State and we put a lien on all of their business assets. So that would cover inventory or equipment. If there is equipment or something that has a serial number, we would list that on the UCC. And that's the way to place our lien. And it's basically whichever is first position. So what we do in the underwriting, we look at the Secretary of State. If there are outstanding liens there, those liens would be superior to ours. So we make sure that we have a clear first lien position to where ours is there first.
Thank you for that. While I have the microphone, I know we're running out of time. Does this borrower also participate in the Mountain BizWorks Catalyst program?
No, they do not. And all of our loans loans do have a personal guarantee on them. Yes.
Yasleen, it's Tim. I wonder if you could explain the profit story a little bit. Those numbers are, what do we make of those numbers? So.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, COVID here. So they were really poised to grow in a really good position when they started. And once they had to shut down in 2020, and then because they are a brick and mortar location, clearly they were affected. And they're starting to kind of pick back up slowly and transitioning a little bit into, I guess, adding additional items and other inventory. I'm trying to not say too.
How's the first 6 months of this year?
They're doing well. They're doing well. But as everyone knows, inflation is getting everyone, and they needed just more capital to be able to buy in bulk and get a cheaper, just get a better price on those items. But they're getting better. They're doing well so far this year.
This one, it raises questions for me just because, we all know COVID was an issue, but locally, we also know that, we've had increased sales taxes. We haven't really seen a COVID impact. People have been spending a lot of money, tourism is up locally. And so I'm just trying to tease out a little bit of, is this really about COVID, or is this the model peaked in 2019 and may never recover? I'm just trying to, I don't know enough. That's how it feels to me.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we analyzed, and so that the underwriter also did, and of course the chief credit officer, and this has been a project they've been working on probably since the beginning of the year, and have this applicant has been receiving the technical assistance and kind of working on projections and working on kind of working on their business model and readjusting where they needed to as well, to make sure that they can become profitable again, and that they've been given all of that technical assistance, and that's where this loan will help them.
I don't see any other hands raised, so I just had a couple more comments. And I think at one point, maybe we discussed this briefly, but I don't recall if we have a pie chart or some sort of report on like the industries that we've been funding through MCCF. As long as I've been here, I haven't seen a whole lot of sustainable lifestyle businesses come for funding. And you're going back to the advertising discussion, like that's a different type of business, because it sounds like maybe their main differentiator, it's not necessarily a product that they produce, but it's more their branding and their curation and their style and their taste, possibly reaching the right clientele. So I think I have some reservations about funding this particular type of business, but in the scheme of diversifying our pie chart of industries that we fund, I personally haven't seen this type of business come forward. So I don't know if anybody else has like historical input there. So, I feel like I'm a little bit on the fence about it, but I think I'm willing to give this founder a shot, just me personally. So if anyone else has thoughts on that, and then we can probably take a vote in a little bit here.
If I could chime in again. Yasleen, are you able to speak to kind of like the time sensitivity of this? Could we request additional information? Like, I think it'd be great to see or hear about what the forecast is, and without giving, I don't need all the details. I'm just wondering if we could get some more confidence in this at our next meeting, or maybe a special meeting, or if there's are we up against a deadline with SBA where, this needs to be approved yesterday?
Yeah, we are at a deadline here with the client. It's looking to close soon. I'm not really sure. I mean, I would have to kind of go back and look at I'm not really sure what I can provide. I guess we would have to go back and look at the guidelines and see, what information can really be provided as far as confidentiality goes.
A 6-month update would certainly be reasonable. Financial update.
You mean as far as
how they're doing 2022 profit-wise?
Okay. I mean, I could certainly give you a number. I don't have that in front of me right now, but I could certainly provide that. I think Rachel, can you hang on?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if we typically receive a copy of this document in advance of the meeting, but it would be helpful for me, even just the way that it's situated on the screen. I'm not able to read what's on the screen because I'm putting my attention on another page. And I think having some time to digest the information and prepare questions, it feels like we're in an uncomfortable position because of the urgency combined with the hesitation.
Okay. D.
I put my question in the chat. I do apologize for the delay in being muted, but how many days of operating capital does the client have?
I don't know that question. I have to go back and look. But I think that's more of an underwriting question. So I'm not sure,
anytime you anticipate an operating committee or a loan underwriting committee, those kinds of issues come up. Does this client have enough money to sustain? You indicated that there was a deadline, or a time-sensitive issue. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, where does it emanate from? Does it come from the client shortage of cash or cash flow issues? Does it come from the SBA window? Just trying to get clarity on that.
I have to go back and get with the lender to make sure, what the urgency is here. But again, I'm the presenter here, so I have to get with the lender to make sure,
Do they have 90 days of operating capital, or is that a procedural issue? Do y'all kind of figure that out when you take on a client and assage cash flow, cash in bank?
Most
I'm
of our
sorry.
clients don't typically have 90 days of operating capital. You normally don't
Yeah,
see that in a small
SBA.
business.
SBA is not the fastest horse on the racetrack. I do know that, having done direct and guarantees before. They are not happy to jump on. They take their time. So that's the reason why I'm asking. All right, I'm good. Thank
But
you.
you got to keep in mind, though, we have been working with this client for many months now prior to bringing them onto the committee for approval. So it's not like we've been working with them for, a month now. They have, like I said, we've been working on them with them probably since January, trying to get them ready to come to the committee. So we have been working with them for this many months.
Thank you, Yasleen. Yeah, I'm definitely listening and taking mental notes on any potential ways that we could improve this part of the process in the future. And I think the comment Rachel made is helpful. I'm also wondering if, I know there's sensitivity around, confidential information, but is there any way we can have any sort of glimpse into your pipeline of possible loan requests in the future, even if they don't materialize? And so for the next 6 months, since you started working on this person 6 months ago, like, who are we starting to work with it now or recently that may potentially show up on our radar, and kind of what those types of businesses sort of look like, and like a very sort of streamlined version of this loan request. Again, someone that they may get to a point where they're strong financially enough that they don't need to come to us for funding. But I think having that proactive sort of look into the pipeline would be helpful for us, and, for all the lenders as well, not just folks, so that we can make, more informed sort of further out, far-reaching decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be very helpful for the committee to know, and not only for you guys, but for the lenders as well.
Yeah, because it's not great to make decisions, at the last minute. Because to Rachel's point, we feel the need, for this funding, but really at the end of the day, we don't want to make these types of loan approvals based off of that time urgency. We really want to know the fundamentals of the business, which is what Dee keeps going back to, is kind of the fundamentals of, like, do we have sufficient management and the business model that Tim was talking about. So I think that would be really helpful. So with that being said, I know we're coming up on time and we have this loan before us today. So we probably should take a vote on this loan with all the mental notes that we have from today on how we can kind of improve the process in the future. So does that sound like a good plan for everyone? If we take a vote, on this loan, we'll need someone to motion.
So Maui, just a thought, and not an option. I don't know if the group would be amenable to it, but we could set a date certain, maybe this time next Friday, to kind of regroup on this particular item, and which would allow additional information potentially to be provided, or we could just proceed with the vote. I think there's different options on the table, and I don't know what the group wants to do, or what works timing wise, but I just don't want folks to feel, boxed in one way or another. So just throw that out there. So.
That's a good point, Tim. That I did really think about that too, of like how much logistics would require for us to reconvene and not wait until the next official MCCF meeting, but within the next week or two. And then would that also provide Yasleen enough time to go to the lender to get or to the underwriting department to get some of that data for us? So just like a quick sort of pulse check, how does everyone feel about delaying the review and vote to like a week out? Does that sound a little bit like less pressuring, and like we could stomach that a little bit more? I see some
Yes.
head nods there.
I won't be available for a meeting next Friday, but I'm so we'll just have to ensure we have a quorum without my presence, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I also am unavailable next week.
Could we push it out another week? That would be mid-month, and that would be not kicking the can too far down the road, but it'll give us a little bit more time. Carl, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. When I first started, with you, Maui, the question that I had is, are we really examining these loans, or are we protecting the integrity of the fund? And I think it was you, Nikki, that I got on a call with. It was very helpful to understand that it's not so much the loan, it's the caliber of our fund. And so from my perspective, this is diversifying our fund with a different business type. And we have as much due diligence on the background of this business from Mountain BizWorks as we have from any other loan that we've made. So I'd be in favor of voting today.
Nikki?
And I'll speak to that as well, because right, I think what I'm thinking through is what is the duties of the committee, just understanding that there is a host of underwriting that is set forth, and being that we're a public body, really being clear about our role, which I know is set forth in our bylaws and the operational committee. I think the only thing that that we do set forth also is that a loan of this size, being that it's 70,000, may require additional review. I think there's some language about that the committee itself could be this subcommittee that kind of reviews things or maybe ask more specific questions. But I do think it's prudent for us to be very clear about what our role is and what the role of the financial institutions that we partner with, because that's the safe space for me. Is that by no means am I a banking or lending expert, so I utterly rely on the underwriting that is performed by our partners to basically verify that that they would recommend this business for funding. And so, and I don't know if that is a part of the lender's role to actually make that recommendation, but I do believe that the fact that it's being brought forth today kind of implies that. So I'm curious just to see if anyone else has any thoughts on how this relates to our governing structure, and that how that could kind of move forward with, as Carl mentioned, kind of moving this forward towards a motion. But I'll kind of hold to allow the floor to, or the board to comment, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any thoughts to add on to Nikki? Those are great points, and thank you, Carl, also for your comments. I'll just speak from, sort of speaking out loud real quick here, that I think that we do feel kind of the weight and responsibility on both sides. And again, this is sort of a pivotal moment in our fund. Now that we've done things a certain way, we have this opportunity to sort of maybe revamp or reinvent a little bit going forward. And given that we don't have a lot of the data in place, like our industry allocation, for example, we don't have strong indicators perhaps against not including this loan at this time. And to your point, Nikki, that we had that trust with our partners that they've done their due diligence. We could probably use more information, but to your point, like I'm just thinking, like, what questions do we actually need answered? And is this an opportunity for us to just say, hey, we don't usually have as much detail as we want or as much time as we want to make good decisions, and sort of level that up for the next loan request? Or do we really feel like we need to kind of pause on this specific loan request, to kind of get those details? So I think that would be the bigger question, is do we press pause on this, or do we take these learnings and improve so that we're ready for the next loan request? Dee?
Thank you for the opportunity. I've heard a lot, and I guess we all have. Let me just say that it's come up before when questionable ones came up before. It looks like basically our job was no more than a rubber stamp, and we deferred to the lender. So if that's what we want to do, then we need to be clear about it. If our role is to protect, to operate, and I think the charge that we were given are probably clear in the operating documents. If you want to keep that charge, you want to go forward. But I'm going to tell you right now, as I did before with 2 other loans or these combined loans, I'm going to vote against it. I hate to do it, but with the information that I have today, I can't in good conscience vote for it. So that's all I have to say. I do apologize for that, but I can't do it. Thank you.
One proposal, thank you, Dee. One proposal, again, since we are coming up on time too, is maybe we could do a vote on the loan and see what the outcome is, with the possibility that if the loan request is not approved, that we could circle back up, like we discussed, and try and see if with additional information, if we feel a little bit more comfortable approving that loan, and kind of take that route, because we could talk and converse and debate for a while here. But since that we have a limited amount of time, if there's anyone who feels strongly to vote for the loan, to motion to pass the loan approval, then we can just go ahead and take a vote then to today and kind of see what the outcome is. So I'll open up to a motion if someone wants to motion for the loan request. Well, it sounds like we might want to wait then if we don't have a motion to approve, given this dialogue. So that might be the best thing to do for now, given everyone's input. So, Nikki, yes.
Can we just be very clear with Yasleen on the list of questions that we have? And then I think if we could perhaps look at a special called meeting in 2 weeks, I think that could be prudent. Or if Yasleen too, if we can find out from if they're able to wait next month too. But if we can just kind of make sure we've got that list of questions. I heard a 6-month, what the profits were for the last 6 months was a request by Carl. I would like to hear any other comments on projections for the remainder of the year. That first year is super strong. So just curious if the projections are available in terms of what's potential for the business. So those 2 questions. I think Dee, you had some good questions about just capital on hand, working capital, or maybe even the distribution of the loan intention, if there's a percentage of this is going to be X on inventory, this on advertising. So I feel like that was question 4, perhaps. Any others that I'm missing, so we can just make sure that we have those.
Yes.
Maybe Rachel, you might have taken them too in the minutes.
Why don't we, what I would like to propose is that in conjunction with Rachel's thorough notes, if I can send a follow-up email with a doodle poll and an opportunity for people to kind of send in their questions to that email. And if we can do that in the next few days, so that by early next week, Yasleen can at least have the questions that we have to go back to the underwriting department. And we can also in that doodle poll solidify a meeting time. It sounds like the week after next might be the best initially. So that way we can kind of close this meeting out and sort of work out the rest of those details offline. Because I do have a couple of things to add to that list as well, Nikki, but in the interest of time, maybe we can do that over email. Does that sound good? All right, perfect. Thank you everyone for that robust discussion. So I see on our agenda that we have this next month reminder that I didn't change the month. I apologize, I meant to, but given that Karen's not here today, we will definitely have a loop back to the operating rules and procedure documents. So with that, let's move on to the public comments section. Is there anyone on the line for public comments? Think we're good? Are we good on public comments? Yeah.
We do not have any public comments at this time.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right. Well, we got through our agenda, everybody. So with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn the meeting. Gone a little bit past our time.
Motion to
I
adjourn.
so move. Second.
Second. All right. Let's vote. Everyone in favor? Yep. D, Frank, Mary, Nikki. So is that 4 out of 7? Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for all your input and contribution today. I will follow up with that email. Everyone have a great rest of your day. We will be in touch again soon. Thank you.
Good job, Maui.
Thanks, Maui.
Enjoy Florida.
Thank you.